Tonight, President Trump defending his second-term agenda in an exclusive interview with NBC News. The president downplaying concerns about a possible recession and pressed on his immigration crackdown.
Your Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree?
His stance on the constitutional rights of the people his administration's trying to deport, plus responding to those Trump 2028 hats and the new controversy over this AI-generated Pope picture. New warnings from famed investor Warren Buffett about U.S. trade policies as his surprise announcement he's stepping down from his company marks the end of an era. Frustration and delays at one of the nation's busiest airports. How the air traffic controller shortage means a weekend of travel headaches across the country. A show of support in court after a sheriff's deputy is run down and killed. The suspected driver, the father of a man killed by police just the day before. Was it revenge?
Whoa! Whoa!
A close call in the heart of Israel. A Houthi missile strike coming dangerously close to the Tel Aviv airport. Israel's response tonight.
This is NBC Nightly News with Hallie Jackson.
We are coming on the air tonight with President Trump defending his punishing tariff policies and waving off concerns about rising prices. Even his new polling shows a majority of Americans disapprove of how he's handling those economic issues. The president also dodging questioning on whether and how to uphold the Constitution in that exclusive interview with NBC News. Our Meet the Press moderator, Kristen Welker, starts us off tonight.
Mr. President, thank you. More than 3 months into office, President Trump isn't willing to fully commit to taking ownership over the economy. When does it become the Trump economy?
It partially is right now, and I really mean this. I think the good parts are the Trump economy, and the bad parts are the Biden economy, because he's done a terrible job. He did a terrible job on everything.
So let's talk about the tariffs. And I want to ask you about something you said this week. Got a lot of attention. You were at your cabinet meeting. You said, quote, I'm going to quote what you said, maybe the children will have $2 instead of $30.
Yeah.
And maybe the $2 will cost a couple of bucks more than they would normally. Are you saying that your tariffs will cause some prices to go up?
No, I think the tariffs are going to be great for us because it's going to make us rich.
But you said some dolls are going to cost more. Isn't that an acknowledgement that some prices will go up?
I don't think a beautiful baby girl that's 11 years old needs to have 30 dolls. I think they can have 3 dolls or 4 dolls. Because what we were doing with China was just unbelievable. We had a trade deficit of hundreds of billions of dollars with China.
When you say they could have $3 instead of $30, are you saying Americans could see empty store shelves?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying they don't need to have $30. They can have 3. They don't need to have 250 pencils. They can have 5.
Is it okay in the short term to have a recession?
This. Look, everything's okay. What we are, I said, this is a transition period. I think we're going to do fantastically.
The president's first 100 days also marked by his immigration crackdown and mass deportation efforts. Your Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree, Mr. President?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
Well, the Fifth Amendment says
I don't know. It seems. It might say that, but if you're talking about that, then we'd have to have 1 million or 2 million or 3 million trials. We have thousands of people that are some murderers and some drug dealers and some of the worst people on earth, some of the worst, most dangerous people on earth. And I was elected to get them the hell out of here, and the courts are holding me from doing it.
But even given those numbers that you're talking about, don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president?
I don't know. I have to respond by saying again, I have brilliant lawyers that work for me, and they are going to obviously follow what the Supreme Court said. What you said is not what I heard the Supreme Court said. They have a different interpretation.
And Kristen is joining us here on set. It's good to see you.
Great to be here, Hallie.
You also asked the president about his political future, given those Trump 2028 hats his organization is selling. But, of course, the Constitution prohibits a third term. What do you tell you about that?
Well, the hats are fueling speculation about what he's thinking about a third term. In his most definitive statements yet, Hallie, the president said he's not interested in trying to find a way to circumvent the Constitution for a third term. He said he's focused on the next 4 years. I pressed him on who does he see as the successor. He named the vice president and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, notably.
Kristen Welker, thank you. Also tonight, one of the most successful investors of all time, the so-called Oracle of Omaha, is announcing he's stepping down, with Warren Buffett also firing a warning shot about U.S. trade policies. Yamiche Alcindor joins us now from West Palm Beach with more. Yamiche, good evening.
Good evening, Hallie. It is the end of an era. After 6 decades leading Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett said he will step down as CEO. And Buffett said he planned to formally recommend that his handpicked successor replace him as CEO at the end of the year at the company's board of directors meeting today. And the 94-year-old also made news by criticizing hardline trade policies. And while Buffett did not mention President Trump by name, he said this. Take a listen.
And there's no question that trade can be an act of war, and I think it's led to bad things. I mean, we should be looking to trade with the rest of the world, and we should do what we do best, and they should do what they do best.
Buffett also said trade should not be a weapon. Hallie?
Yamiche Alcindor in Florida, thank you. Also tonight, one of the busiest airports in the country facing massive delays blamed on an air traffic controller shortage and prompting one major airline to cut dozens of flights. Maya Eaglin joins us now from Newark Airport outside New York City, where, Maya, travelers have faced some really big headaches.
Yeah, Hallie, at least 100 flights have been canceled today here at Newark Liberty International Airport, and hundreds more have been delayed by hours, impacting flyers across the entire country. The FAA is blaming staffing shortages and equipment issues. This has sparked safety concerns, and there was even a walkout on Thursday of more than 20% of the air traffic control workers who oversee this busy airspace. So to minimize the impacts, United Airlines says it slashed 35 flights from its daily schedule here. Meanwhile, the Department of Transportation says repairs and a new plan to supercharge the FAA workforce is on the way. Hallie?
Maya Eaglin at Newark, thank you. To Cincinnati now, where a sheriff's deputy was run down and killed. And now investigators are looking at whether his death may have been an act of revenge. Shaquille Brewster explains.
Tonight, the father of a teen fatally shot by Cincinnati police Thursday, now behind bars, after investigators say he killed a deputy from another department the next day with his car.
There is a connection between these two incidents.
38-year-old Rodney Hinton Jr. is charged with aggravated murder. Prosecutors say he intentionally struck a recently retired Hamilton County deputy who was on traffic patrol.
I've got an officer now.
A makeshift memorial today at the intersection. The deputy, just identified by the sheriff's office as Larry Henderson, later died at the hospital.
He was so well liked and so well known.
A courtroom full of law enforcement Saturday as Hinton faced a judge. His team in court calling this an emotionally charged situation. Hinton making a hard-to-hear comment to deputies while being escorted out in handcuffs. The crash happened just hours after he joined a meeting with Cincinnati police to review body camera video of his son's death, according to the attorneys hired by the family to investigate the police shooting. The video, now publicly released from 2 different angles, shows 18-year-old Ryan Hinton being shot and killed Thursday morning by a city police officer.
He's got a gun.
Investigators say the teen pointed a gun at Cincinnati officers responding to a call of a stolen vehicle. Hinton's family attorneys tonight writing they are heartbroken by this tragic turn of events, and we are all devastated for the family of the officer who was killed.
Shaquille Brewster joins us now from Cincinnati. So, Shaq, what is next here for the man being charged?
Hallie, he's scheduled to be back in this courthouse Tuesday morning as the state requests he be held without bond. Meanwhile, you see it there. Flags on county buildings have been lowered to half-staff in honor of that fallen deputy. Hallie?
Shaquille Brewster in Cincinnati, thanks. A major escalation tonight in Israel with a missile striking near the country's main airport in an attack from Iran-backed rebels in Yemen. Danielle Hamamjian has more on that tonight. And Danielle, some major airlines are now canceling flights to Tel Aviv.
Yeah, Hallie, this was the first time since October 7th that the group backed by Iran successfully hit the grounds of Israel's main international airport. People could be seen running for cover as the missile landed close to the airport's access road. 8 mild injuries were reported. Many foreign airlines, as you mentioned, have now suspended their flights in and out of Tel Aviv. The Israeli military said it made several attempts to intercept the missile, but failed to shoot it down. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel would respond at a time and place of its choosing. Hallie.
Danielle Hamamdjian, thank you. To the Vatican now, where they're making the final preparations for the conclave this week to select the next pope. Ann Thompson is there and following it all tonight. Ann, good evening.
Good evening, Hallie. There's a real sense of anticipation here in Vatican City as we move ever closer to Wednesday's conclave. Tonight, the final mass marking the end of 9 days of mourning for Pope Francis, who died last month. In attendance, the cardinal electors will choose the next pope. But an AI-generated image of President Trump as pope has ignited a firestorm. The president posted that image on social media this weekend, and the White House reposted it. New York's Cardinal Timothy Dolan, who is a friend of Trump, said it was not good, left a bad impression, and he hoped the president had nothing to do with it. Hallie?
Ann Thompson at the Vatican, thank you. Still ahead tonight, the last-minute rush for a real ID, which you need to know before new travel rules go into effect this week. Plus, America's newest city called Starbase, what it could mean for the future of SpaceX. Back now with a key election in Texas featuring not just politicians, but a city now officially called Starbase. That's after voters overwhelmingly backed a plan to make the 1.5 square miles of land around SpaceX headquarters its own city in a win for SpaceX leader Elon Musk. He wants to turn the area into a state-of-the-art spaceport. But opponents worry the move could make it easier for SpaceX to avoid restrictions around testing and rocket launches. The last-minute rush is on to get a real ID before the deadline this Wednesday, with huge lines spotted at DMVs and state offices across the country. But as Adrian Broadus reports, even if you don't have one yet, you may not be totally out of luck.
Across the country, the countdown is on to get a real ID.
I hope I'm able to get it at least before the deadline.
From New York to North Carolina, scenes like this. People waiting in long lines to get one. They have a Gold Star, California Bear, or say Enhanced in Washington State. And you'll need one if you're planning to fly domestically or visit some federal facilities.
These IDs keep our country safe.
These people are waiting for a real ID in Chicago.
It's the longest I've waited in a line for an ID before.
Alexi Janulius is the Illinois Secretary of State.
What does May 7th mean to you?
Chaos, unnecessary chaos, confusion.
His office has been overwhelmed, so they created the first ever Real ID Supercenter to handle Real ID requests.
On average, this Real ID Supercenter processes 1,500 applications daily.
I never would imagine that the Real ID Supercenter would be this popular. We've had other states reach out to us about how to get it done. They want to do it.
But no matter where you live, there are some things you need to know before you get a Real ID. First, that May 7th deadline. That's not the last day you can get one.
I think there's this misnomer out there that because it's a deadline on May 7th, we're going to stop issuing them. That is not the case.
Starting May 7th, you will need a Real ID if you're planning to fly. But even then, you'll still be able to use other documentation.
If you have a passport, travel with your passport.
A passport, a green card, or a military ID. Also, before you go get a Real ID, check online to make sure you have the documents you need. Dorian Irons found out the hard way, denied twice in 1 week.
You look like you're on the verge of tears.
I am, just a little bit.
And when you go, be ready to wait. When we visited the Supercenter, it took some people 2.5 hours.
I'm going to be here a very long time.
It just takes a little planning and a lot of patience. Adrian Broadus, NBC News, Chicago.
We are back in a moment with the star-powered push to make track a primetime pro event well beyond the Olympics. Many of the world's best runners have been going head-to-head in the Miami area this weekend as part of a star-powered push for pro track. So could it be a game changer? Our Jesse Kirsch is there.
With gold medal star power and big money on the line, this may be the running world racing into the future.
Why does running need this?
Because in track, as a sport, you have the fastest people in the world
who don't have an opportunity to prove it, but every 4 years.
The proposed solution, Grand Slam Track, a first of its kind pro league for the sport. 4 meets in a single year, featuring over 30 Paris Olympic medalists. Grand Slam Track, streaming on NBC Universal's Peacock, is the brainchild of Team USA Olympic legend Michael Johnson.
Now you have the opportunity in between those games to establish yourself and prove that I am one of the best in the world.
The new league allows athletes to win big money beyond an Olympic advertising blitz. Winners take home $100,000 on top of guaranteed contract pay. Enticing for rising stars and household names like 5-time Olympic medalist Gabby Thomas.
What's the upside of doing something like this?
Well, the prize money. It's first of its kind in our sport. A lot of people don't realize this, but many of us work second jobs just to support our track careers.
Grand Slam Track also pushes athletes beyond their comfort zone. American Masai Russell won Paris gold in the women's 100-meter hurdles. But to win a Grand Slam, she also needs to sprint 100 meters.
It's like we are dibbling and dabbling in our specialty event and an event that's not so much our specialty. So that's what makes it kind of cool.
Rising star Anna Hall's heptathlon specialty isn't even on the schedule, but she's here too.
And honestly, I just had FOMO, like fear of missing out.
Some stars like Noah Lyles and Sha'Carri Richardson have not signed on.
This is what's going to grow this sport. I think everybody will join at some point.
Perhaps making Grand Slam Track the new must-see photo finish. Jesse Kirsch, NBC News, Miramar, Florida.
When we come back, there is good news tonight about the power of music and the bond it created between this doctor and patient. There is good news tonight about a couple of real-life rock stars and the healing power of music.
Joel Schilling knows a thing or two about keeping a steady rhythm. Playing bass for his band at night and on the weekends. Living out his dream of being a rock hero.
Music has been a huge part of who I am and a big part of kind of how I blow off steam.
But during the day, he's a real-life hero, working on a different kind of beat as a cardiologist at Barnes Jewish Hospital in St. Louis.
Hey, Rodney, how are you?
And that's where Dr. Schilling met Rodney Cochran, a veteran and athlete who needed a new heart.
I was in ICU for 8 weeks awaiting the heart transplant.
As the weeks wore on, while Rodney waited, the two discovered a connection.
I grew up in a rural area, so country music is kind of my background.
Music is a huge part of my conversations to kind of break ice with patients.
Their love of music.
Music had got brought up at one point, and so that made seeing him all that more enjoyable.
Did you think of him? You're like, oh, that's the music guy. That's the music doctor.
Oh, absolutely.
Having some common ground to talk about something that means a lot and can help you get through things and help you heal.
Last year, Rodney received his new heart with Dr. Schilling by his side throughout the recovery. They stopped talking about music together and instead prepared to perform it.
He would always say, hey, when are you going to play with us? He wouldn't let it go.
Dr. Schilling, why were you so insistent about Rodney playing with your band?
For me, there's nothing more rewarding than being able to see people getting back to their life.
So we have a drummer who's going to be joining us.
12 months and 1 week after his transplant, Rodney joined Dr. Schilling on stage at the Enterprise Center in St. Louis.
What was going through your mind in those moments?
It was a great way to celebrate. To turn around and see him behind the drum set when I'm playing my guitar was really something special.
For Rodney, this wasn't just a show. It was a victory lap.
How much was this performance a part of your own healing process and healing journey?
It was a big part of my 1-year anniversary. So I had wanted to, try not to get emotional here, I had wanted to do things to honor my transplant.
A doctor and patient showing the healing power of music, heart to heart, beat by beat.
And that is NBC Nightly News for this Sunday. Lester will be back tomorrow. I'm Hallie Jackson. For all of us here at NBC, thanks for watching and have a great week.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.